Hello everyone, this is Daniel, and this is Jesus' urgent message to you. This is not about revelation, this is not about any of this, but this is for your life, this is for your safety of your life, and this is for the well-being of your life, and for paradise as well. Now, you're going to wonder why it's urgent later, but I'm going to tell you the message now. There are homeless people in this world that are begging for money for whatever reason. Now don't go away, but people that are homeless begging for money, most of them are going for drugs, and a small amount of people, like 30%, if you give them food instead of money, they'll either shoot you, or for most cases they'll shove the food into your face and just be angry about it because they wish you gave them drugs. I mean, sad to say, but most of these people that want money and say God bless you, they're going for drugs. Just look at their face. This is how you can tell. It's not gonna be clear, cut clear. You can tell by the book of the cover, but if they have the face of, let's say, heroin or crystal meth, you can just tell that they're just not gonna do well. Now, please, see anything. If you see anyone that has a face that is, if their hair is like ratty, and it's not from being dirty or anything like this, if it's not greasy, if it's just ratty, don't give them money. Also, it could just be for the start of their drugs. I mean, a good number of people that start on drugs die very like good number of people that start on drugs. I believe they start to realize that this is dangerous, and they either die really early on or they just quit, and they die later on too. I mean, most of the people that start drugs that are very much illegal, most of these people die because of the lack of knowledge of the gang life. Gang life, like drug dealers and all that. They tend to die from that because drug dealers really want the money, and if they don't get the money, they'll shoot you for your money. What the heck? Anyway, basically, people desperate for money, they're just meant for, they're literally there for the money, and they're literally there begging for money just for drugs. Most of them are. 80% of the people that are begging for money are begging for money for drugs. In American society, there's the rich, there's the poor. Of course there is. But of course, there's a lot of literal like people are literally if they get bankrupt, they have a place to go to. They have a home to go to, in America anyway. But if people are on the streets begging for money, the most possible thing that's going to happen is they're going to use the money for drugs. Now let me get to the straight point for you, because this is why the message is urgent. Because if you're handling the people the money, and if you give people money when they're begging for money, and they say God bless and all that, I mean, if it's not enough money, I mean, chances are they'll die, because, I mean, people that are getting money illegally, and that, I mean, I think there's an old saying in heaven that says, I mean, this is an old saying, but basically, the start of all horrible things, it gets worse, and then it becomes a disaster. So it starts by saying, I don't know, like, bad stuff will get worse, and then eventually it will become disastrous, and then it will end by then. So first there has to be bad stuff, and then there has to be a disaster. So what's going on that's becoming a disaster in drug terms? Well, right now we're in an age of drugs, like illegal drugs and pharmaceuticals and all the horrible things. So, devil wants people to stay away from handing people that are broke money and have them die that way, because, there has to be a way of giving people the money. Of course there has to be. But, people are literally, money is good, but then there's the money that God told me in it this way, because if you're handling people money for drugs, you're killing people. You're sending people to hell, because drugs will send people to hell no matter what. Illegal drugs. But if you stop giving them money and they decide not to get the drugs because of how bad the drugs were, they'll have a fight for their lives. Because if you give the money to panhandlers, they'll use it most likely for bad purposes, and that's never a good thing. And by the way, this all started from pharmaceuticals. Originally it was for not poppy, but shrooms, like the dope or whatever it was called back in the day. And the devil thought it was pretty cool that people were on drugs. Originally it was, people would use it for alcohol, but it would be their fault. But then dope came and it would still be their fault. Then modern witchcraft, by that time, there was a lot of witchcraft in the 1800s that was starting illegal drugs. I mean, the first one was marijuana, I believe, and then later on it was heroin, and then it was cocaine and all that. And LSD. The drugs keep on getting worse. So because of witchcraft, now we have people that are not. It's not going to be their fault. It's going to be your fault that you gave them the money so that they can die. So how can you handle this? Well, for one thing, you have to go to a church. This is why we donate to the better cause of the whole humanity, because donating your money in a church is the only way you can give money to the poor. And that's unfortunately going to be true for all causes, because, there are services in the government. I mean, you can use your taxes for the poor. That's what you can use your taxes for. You can also use your donation from the money for the churches. This is the only way you can give money to the poor, because if you're giving money to the poor directly, you're in trouble for hell. If you know the whole cause, just don't give the money to the poor, because only give it to the poor when you're going to church. And for what else? For taxes, because if you really want to give to the poor, well, by the way, just giving a hint that there are other ways to give to the poor, like charities and all that. But you also have to trust the charity. But really, churches are the only way. If it's a Catholic church, it doesn't matter. They'll find a way for the poor person to get the money. With all due respect, you have to give them money to the poor by church and by state. Because directly means, a death sentence for them. It doesn't mean it all the time, but this is going to be your fault now. From now on, let it be your fault if you give the money to the poor directly, because you now know that if you give the money to the poor, they're going to be lost. You're going to be at fault. It's going to be at your blood. And and by the way, if by law, if you by law, if you kill someone on accident, if you indirectly killed someone, you're going to be at fault, and you're going to go to jail. Same way at God's law, because if you accidentally send someone to hell, and you actually knew that sending money to a poor person directly would basically send them to hell, you're going to be at fault. You might go to hell for this. And by the way, you're most likely going to go to hell for this because, pretty sure enough, everyone's at fault now. So do not give money to the poor because you think they're desperate and all that. They're there because they're deceived, and Satan is deceiving them through them to deceive you so that they can die. Alright. So, please, I'm begging you, through the Lord Jesus, do not give the money to the poor directly. Give it to the poor through churches and through state, and through whoever you can trust someone else to give the money to, because only the person with a license can give the money to the poor. And may it be done that way from now on. Alright, I'll be done now, okay? Bye.